Good morning and welcome to the Bill and Kelly Early Morning Show. Today we have a bit of a treat. We have a visitor from, or I shouldn't say visitor, a guest from New Zealand. Robyn is joining us from New Zealand today, and she's joining us by Zoom audio. Robyn, good evening to you, and welcome to our show.
Thank you.
And we're so appreciative of your being able to do this, and I'll just tell you how this came to be. Kelly and I are just so amazed sometimes at people who listen to or watch our show, and we know we have quite a few viewers and listeners in UK, a few in Australia, and a few popped up in New Zealand, but we never interacted them. They just show up on our demographics. So, but when we saw New Zealand, I told Kelly, and as I told you the other day, Robyn, she would get so upset. She was so jealous, and she will be today. So sometime maybe we could have you back on when she's awake, but that's going to be challenging since you're usually asleep at that time. Well, welcome to our show. And the reason why we invited Robyn on is to talk about what's happening in New Zealand. One of the things that I saw pop up on the headlines, and actually this is about the same time that Robyn started messaging us on our show, is that New Zealand experienced its first death having to do with the COVID-19 virus. And you all know, without having to say, I looked at the population, and yes, that New Zealand is completely different population-wise compared to the United States. But when I compared it to Indiana, we're pretty close in population size. And as all of you know, in Indiana, we've experienced quite a bit more than New Zealand. So I'm going to turn it over here to Robyn, and she's going to explain to me what went on in New Zealand from the beginning of when COVID-19 was declared an emergency to how life is now. So, Robyn, the stage is all yours now.
Okay, so basically, the first I ever heard of it was in November of last year, but for it to be affecting us was in March of this year. So, literally, maybe just over 3 weeks ago, we were moved into what they call level one, which is a preparation phase where the disease is contained. But what they're trying to do is to make sure that if they have cases appear, that they can limit the spread, make sure that people are proactive around their health and well-being, things like contact tracing, self-isolation and quarantine for people who are coming back in the country, cancelling mass gatherings of 500 and over, and about the strict routine about washing and drying of your hands, coughing into your elbow, etc. So that was the first I really seen of it, and we were told by our Prime Minister that should the need arise, we will move quite quickly through the levels. So there's 4 levels. Level 1 is prepare, level 2 is reduce, really seen of it. Level 3 is restrict, and level 4 is eliminate. So 3 and a bit weeks ago, we were at level 1, and then it quite quickly moved to level 2, like within a matter of a couple of days, which put more stringent things in place, especially around the people that were coming back from overseas. It limited the gatherings. It basically was trying to look after everybody and make sure that everything was done correctly. And then within the space of another couple of days, it literally went straight up to level 4. So this is where we've been for the last 2 and a bit weeks. I think we're at maybe day 16, I think. Everything's a day at the moment, so it doesn't matter which day of the week it is, they're all the same.
And
Um,
go ahead, Robyn.
so what they've done is at level 4, they're basically stating that it's likely that the disease is not contained and that there's sustained and intensive transmission. So there's been cluster outbreaks, and to help them identify and to flatten the curve, um, they've tried to, I don't know how to put it in any other terms, but sustain the impact by stopping people from traveling, stopping social interactions that are not inside your bubble. So your bubble purely is the people that are inside your house at 11:59 p.m. on the Wednesday night that it came into effect. Those are the people that you're associated with until the level 4 lockdown cease to exist, and you'll go back through the levels of the lockdown. You'll go back to being restricted and then reduce, and then level 1, and then it'll be exited out of. This is going to take some time, so they're looking at 4 weeks approximately for level 4 at complete lockdown. Now, I'm not talking about setting up a stall outside your house. I'm talking about you go to the supermarket. That is an essential service. You can fill up your car. That is an essential service. You can pick up your script, but you must, and this is for the chemist or pharmacy, you must ring in first and the order will be prepared and you'll be told a time to go in and pick it up. And you don't even enter the chemist. There's social spacings for the supermarket. These are your essential services. Other than that, every single shop, every single restaurant, cafe, hardware stores are all closed. There's absolutely nothing open outside of the essential services.
And your essential services again are the supermarket for food, and you have to maintain what we call social distancing, and you're referring to differently. Your terminology is different.
The social distancing is around 6 foot, I think you say
Right.
for your term. So,
Very similar. Wait, you're 2 meters and we're 6 foot, and that's the same distance, by the way. But so if you do interact now, are they making any demand of you if you do go out? Do you have to wear a face mask at all?
um, there is nothing that is mandatory around face masks. If you want to wear them, that's okay. You're not getting anyone else's social bubble. They restrict the number of people that can go into the supermarket at once. There's an entry door and an exit door to stop any issues from happening. And there's also like a lineup outside, so they will physically cater to the number of people that are in the store at any one time. Even before going in the store, your hands have to be sanitized, your trolley. They're asking you to leave your shopping bags or whatever you're going to put your groceries in, leave them in the car, so there's less chances of any transmission, because it's not just your hands, it's not just about the droplets. COVID-19 can survive on surfaces for X number of days or hours. They just want to make sure that the message kind of hits home that you look after yourself the best way you can. There was a guy in the supermarket, and being a sole parent, I have to take my daughter with me. So the legislation allows for me to take my child with me to the supermarket. He was wearing a double respirator, and I had to giggle, because if you don't laugh, you cry. So my daughter and I had a giggle because he was trying to talk to somebody through it, asking for help for something, and I just got the giggles.
Well, but they are, so the people working in these places are wearing masks. They're not necessarily requiring you to, but the supermarket employees are wearing some type of protective face mask.
Yep, they are available. That's part of their PPE, their protection equipment that they have. There's also social distancing, or places where you stand for your grocery shopping when you go to the checkout. There's also perspex barriers and metal extra bits that have been put in place. So there's that social distancing is there already.
Right, and we have similar things here, but you're saying like supermarkets, they will only let a certain amount of people in, so that the chances of coming closer or violating that social distancing are less of a chance.
Oh, definitely less of a chance.
Right.
I try and pick times where I know that there will be less people in a supermarket. So we have generally a couple of updates that are televised every day. And generally, when that's on, is when I would go to the supermarket for my weekly shop just to make it that much easier for myself.
So let me understand that. So your media there is going to give kind of like reports on the amount of people are going to the supermarket. Is that it? Did I understand that correct?
Um, yes, there is a little bit around that, but what I was meaning was that the government have a televised broadcast each day to update how we're going,
Okay,
and
got you.
from the finance minister, the health minister, the prime minister,
Hmm.
the commissioner of police. So they all have different roles to play.
And that's happening daily.
That's happening daily. So about 4 days a week, we generally hear from the prime minister, and that can be a couple of times a day.
Hmm.
And then you've got people that are specialised in health and science. They'll come in at the other times so that she can obviously have some time with her family because she's got a very young family.
Hmm. Now, help us out here because a lot of people in the United States don't understand the geographic setup of New Zealand or UK. And we do understand that we're vastly different governments. You're a parliamentary government, and we're a two-party system of democracy. But just the geographic makes up. We have states here, and your regions. What are they called?
Okay, so we have the North Island, which my geography teacher explained New Zealand. It's pretty simple. If you were to try and draw it yourself, grab a pen, draw a Y, an I, and a dot. The North Island is the Y, the I is the South Island, and then the dot is Stewart Island.
Ah,
So it's all one time zone. The North Island is where you'll find Parliament, and quite a vast majority of the population is in the North Island. And then you've got smaller cities throughout the South Island, and Stewart Island is quite remote, but is still part of New Zealand's makeup.
right. And I wish I would have thought to download a image of New Zealand. I do have because I had it up earlier. I'm going to bring it up again, showing the vast difference between the impact COVID-19 has had on New Zealand versus the other countries that have been heavily impacted. Now, one thing that I will say, I'm going to do something because, again, I've got to say 327 million in the United States versus a little under 6 million in UK. So, what I'm going to do is bring up our state that Kelly and I live in, which is Indiana. And let me do that here real quick. So, if you can remember what we were talking about in New Zealand, it's more comparable to Indiana in size, but you look at the completely different impact that we've had in our state versus New Zealand. 6,351 positive cases. This one doesn't show people recovered, but it does show our death is right at 245, and the total amount of tested are 3,133. Now, one thing I want to ask you is there any talk about test kits not being available? So the numbers you see, are there still people waiting to be tested?
Um, as far as I'm aware, we have testing stations set up throughout the country, and even right across like a city, so that you're not doing transmission outside of the area in which you live.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to, physically go into one of these testing stations. You drive up in your car, and you're assessed there. So it's very restrictive. As for test kits not being available, no, we don't have that issue.
Hmm.
Our country's been very onto it and made substitutes where they've have um, to get through it, and um, the testing is just carried on.
Right. So if you start experiencing any symptoms that you may be concerned that may be the COVID-19, such as headache, fever, coughing, you can drive yourself to one of these stations to get tested right away.
There's a step involved first before that. We have a dedicated health line for this for COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a call free number for the whole entire country, and you can ring in and talk to them before you even go to one of these testing stations, because what you might have might be purely just a case of the flu, because there's
Right.
other symptoms that, you know, um, aren't actually COVID-19 and can be stopped at that point and rerouted to your doctor for a phone consult.
Yeah. So you have pre-testing. Someone does pre-screening over the phone, and then at that
Yeah,
point in time, do you get like a code or something that says, okay, you need to get to one of the test stations, or what does that look like?
I am not 100% sure because I don't have COVID-19, which is a blessing.
We're happy to hear that, and we hope you remain healthy. So yeah, so I assume that they're cleared some way to get to the testing station then, so
Yeah.
that they.
The testing station for the area that I live in is set up, and if I needed to go there, obviously that would be under the strict instructions from the COVID-19 Healthline,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be under their instruction that I would go to the specific testing place
All
and
right.
follow due process.
And how long are you being told that it takes to get a result?
To be honest, I don't know what the actual time frame is. So if you have a positive result, I believe, and don't verbatim quote me on this, I believe it's 48 hours from when the test is taken. So
Mm-hmm.
if you've got a negative test, the results can sometimes take a bit longer.
Now, if you do test positive, is there any guidance? I assume that they're going to tell you you need to be immediately quarantined, which means that you can't go out and get your groceries or have any interaction with the public. Is that the case?
That is the case. You have the primary health facilities that would basically be doing checks on you to make sure that you're not going out and about, that you're not leaning over the fence to talk to your neighbour, which is so easy to do. Just basically that you're staying quarantined where you need to be. And if you don't, then obviously they'll have to move you to a government facility where they can accommodate what they need to do.
Now, the other thing I wanted to get at now, so I think we talked about your testing and what happens if you are tested positive. Now, what about you're on this lockdown level 4? Um, what if you're caught violating that? If you're in your car and stopped and you're not partaking in an essential activity, which in your case, I don't know what there'd be left to do because it sounds like everything is shut down that you could go to other than the supermarket or the pharmacy, which in New Zealand they call something different. I recall in UK it's
Chemist.
the chemist, yes, the chemist, which here in the United States has an entirely different meaning. So if you're going to, unless you're going to one of those two places, and you can't prove that you're going to one of those two places, what happens? Are you ticketed, fined, or what
Um, I, be-
happens?
I believe the first process is to educate you that you shouldn't be just going out for your Sunday drive or going to the beach for a surf, because that's out of the question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think if you continue to do that, then you can actually be arrested and brought before the judge. I know of one case of a guy, I don't know why he did it, um, in Christchurch, that decided to have a few drinks too many, went to the supermarket, started getting aggressive, spat on people, said that he had COVID-19. He got arrested, and I believe his bail was denied, and he's to come before the judge next month.
Oh,
And
boy.
there is a chance that some jail time can be involved. So you've got to be very, very careful. And I don't understand why people would do it. Why can't you just, you know, just be sensible? Don't be silly.
Right. Yeah. And there's the understanding of that with this virus, it's not so much protecting yourself, it is the impact that you have on others, particularly older people. I don't know what the demographic breakdown is in New Zealand. That's one thing I didn't look up, but here we have a large population of elderly that, as you get older, your immune system depreciates, and you usually have some underlying health issues. Some may be huge, some may not. But that's what we've all been told from day one, that from the data that was being obtained from China and Italy, that this does attack the elderly more often and more viciously. So we've all been kind of conscious of that and making sure that those folks stay inside. And I assume that you guys have been given the same guidance there.
Definitely. Now, for me personally, I have a family member who has COPD, and
Mm-hmm.
they're in my immediate family. We haven't had any face-to-face contact with them
Mm-hmm.
since about 3 and a bit weeks ago, when they basically cancelled school.
Mm-hmm.
Says that's it. So he can't go out and about, can't interact with anyone outside of a social bubble, because that puts him at severe risk. He fits into the demographic for pretty much at 70
Hmm.
and having COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is an area that COVID would quite likely get its hands on, and it wouldn't be a good outcome.
No, no. Anyone with a pulmonary issue, or yeah, it's devastating. In fact, it's boy, this thing is not kind. Let's put it that way. And some people, the danger in it is some people never experience any symptoms whatsoever, and they're called carriers. And then there's some have a mild cold, and then some that's quite devastating. In fact, we have a city up here, Aurora, where three elected officials, now I'm not sure, well, one a servant and two elected officials, all came down with COVID-19 at the same time, and they all experienced different levels of trauma. One just had a bad fever and cough, and the others had to be hospitalized. So it affects everyone differently, depending on what's going on in your body, I suppose. The other thing I want to talk about, and then I want to be sensitive to your time, because I know you probably have some things to do there. But if you can explain to us, like the school. Here in the United States, they're doing e-learning, which means the kids are on their computers and they're being instructed over and actually using things like Zoom to conduct classes. What's happening in New Zealand with education? Is it just stop right now, or are they doing at home e-learning, or what does that look like?
Okay, so I'll use my child for example. They pulled the school holidays forward. So we're just coming out of the end of school holidays, and we've got a statutory couple of days involved. So once those are finished, it does move into a certain amount of e-learning. But my daughter's school's been quite proactive and actually have given us basically a framework of different resources, things that they need to carry on and do. They have taken over a television channel, effective as of next week. One of our main TV channels over here, from 9 till 3:30, I think, will be running different educational levels and programs for the kids. That includes physical activity. So, have you heard of Les Mills? Do you guys have that over there?
What is that again? I'm sorry.
Les Mills. It's like a gym,
No.
different programmed fitness. So they've got two different ones. So they have this one for kids. So they'll be running that as well as part of their physical education. For my daughter's particular school, they've given us parental access to programs that they use as teachers. So we've got a free code and we can go in there and grab the resources. There's Audible stuff that we can do. We can go on virtual museum tours. They've been given other activities that don't involve devices, because it's unhealthy to be on them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's practical stuff that you can do with your family at home. So that's pretty much what ours looks like. What they are looking at doing. They sent home via the internet a an email to all parents asking us to fill it out the survey, basically stating what type of equipment we had at home. Did we have the internet? Was it limited access to it? Did we have devices? If not, did we need a device, or did we just need a hard copy? And then we've also got our national language, as you'd call it, Te Reo Māori. So if you've got children that are bilingual and prefer to have it in their national language, you tick that in hard copy as well. So everything sort of like a three-prong effect. They're starting with our secondary school students as the highest priority, because they're the ones that will be going through exams, or over here we call it NCEA, which is what they use as part of the educational program. They're making sure that they're prioritised first, and then everything else will follow. And that goes right down to daycares and early childhood, or kindergartens, as we call them. So there are programs set up for all of the above, but the majority line of the hardware is going to go out first for the senior students, and then it'll go on to the junior students. But the intermediate students, most of them have what we call a BYOD, which is bring your own device. So quite a few of them already have that sort of thing nationally. So it's picking up on the low socioeconomic areas that don't have access to those, that haven't already been distributed one from the school prior to the lockdown, and just making sure that everyone has access to the education that they need. And we've been told not to stress, because we've got enough to do at home without stressing on top of it.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. In fact, that's one of our major concerns right now. Everyone is stressed here. So, what I hear you saying, which is marvelous, is that there was a site survey, so to speak, asking what technology you had available at home and what activities they can do at home, and that pretty much lend them to understand what this was going to look like when the lockdown was issued. Now, this was done after the lockdown or prior to the lockdown?
This was after the lockdown was issued. We were sent a survey from our school, and that rolled throughout the whole entire country. So whatever school you belong to, the school asked you to fill it out, make sure your details are there, the physical address of the child that's in your social bubble, so that they got the packs out to all the children. So they've started up a massive factory line of getting all of this resources out to the children so that we have it in time. And directive will come from each individual school as to what their programs look like.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's amazing. So, boy, I tell you, Robyn, we appreciate you doing this. You've really painted a picture of what's going on there in New Zealand as compared to what we're going through here in the United States. One thing I'll touch on before I let you go, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate your time, is supermarkets. Let's get back to talking about supermarkets. How are supplies when you are going to the supermarket? Are you finding things that you need for home, like the cloths to make sure that you're keeping things sanitized, and actually food types that you need to sustain your family?
It was a bit of a giggle, but they've actually started bringing out advertisements on the television. So for you, statistically, 80% of New Zealand's requirements for a home to run in the way of grocery items is actually produced here in New Zealand. So we don't actually have shortages. We have mass warehouses in a few different places throughout the country, so that these type of issues don't exist. Knowing that New Zealand is a horticultural society, so we grow a lot of our produce. We produce our own toilet paper, so we don't have toilet paper wars.
Okay, you hit on a point here, which is kind of sore here in the United States. Boy.
And so Australia, by the sounds of it, as well.
Oh, really? The Aussies are having a problem with toilet paper. Interesting. It's just amazing, isn't it? I just that why people would hoard anything. I don't. Well, I guess and people, when asked, they said that's one thing you don't want to be stuck without. And I'm like, there's other things you can use, but we won't get into detailed discussion about that. But no problems with toilet paper in New Zealand.
No problems with toilet paper in New Zealand, and 80% of everything that we need is actually produced here, and that goes into your dried ingredients, etc. So if it's your frou-frou ingredients like saffron that you want to put onto it,
Hmm.
which is an import good, then does it really matter?
So no shortages of anything that you need. Milk, meat products, everything is good in supply there.
Generally in quite a good supply. The only thing that I did see, and it made me crack up, was bread, flour, and what was the other item? Yeast.
Hmm.
Everyone was turning to home baking, and you go in and it was literally stripped of the shelf.
Oh, okay. So ingredients for home baking are, yeah, okay, yeah, all right. So you are experiencing, if you're a home baker, you may be in trouble making that bread or cake or something of that nature, or
Yep.
biscuits.
We just had to wait for them to fill up the shelves the following day, but it just made me giggle. And long life milk, that was the other item, which I don't understand because we produce enough milk in its normal form for this not to be a problem.
Yeah, I was about to say, because it's one thing, you guys have a lot of sheep and a lot of cattle there.
We certainly do. I watch the milk tankers go past every day.
Hmm. And oh boy, but you're having no problems. And let me ask you this: are there any restrictions when you do get to the checkout? If you do have something, maybe, or do they have allotments of certain things that you're only allowed to buy, or are they leaving you guys pretty much up to your own discretion?
No, they have put a very hard limit on it. It's a limit of two. So on high items like the likes of flour, sugar, they haven't put any on milk, which was great. Um, Toilet paper, they put a limit of two on. Cleaning products, limits of two, just to make sure that people just, you know, just be sensible. You don't need to be a numpty and go out and clear the shelf so that the person who Joe Blogs comes in behind you has got nothing to buy because you've got it all in your trolley.
Yeah, and that's something that here in the United States, I've talked to some people that, right when the stay-at-home order was issued, they were working midnights, and by the time they got to the supermarket, it was all gone. And these are people that had kids at home, and so there was no restriction put on, and we ended up being out of toilet paper, milk, and a lot of essential items because people just hoarded. And that's our culture here, I guess. I don't get it. And Kelly and I went to the supermarket. We got canned goods and looked at, okay, what do we need to survive if we couldn't come out of our house? Because we looked at it at the worst possible case, like we had a lockdown like what you're experiencing. What if we couldn't get out of the house? What if they said, go to the grocery store? And so we looked at it logically, stuff that was that lasted a long time, maybe a month, and but we were very conservative, and I just didn't get it. But yet there, you go down certain aisles like cleaning products, we can't get hand sanitizer. Now our breweries and our distilleries are manufacturing hand sanitizer here, and yeah, and so how's hand sanitizer there, by the way? Can you get it?
What's hand sanitizer?
Oh, it's disinfectant for the hands. Oh, is that led into the question you can't get any there, or is it just called something differently?
No, it's the same thing over
Ah,
here.
okay.
If you can get it, it's generally quite expensive. And
Ah,
the same goes for if you're trying to buy something and people do stockpiling, the people that are on the lower socioeconomic end of the scale end up having to buy stuff that's more expensive. So you have to say, okay, well, am I going to buy nappies this week or am I going to buy this week?
hmm.
Because the person in front of me has just bought all the cheap stuff, which I now can't afford.
Uh, so in a sense, you do have some type of hoarding there. But it's just you can get it. It's just that you're going to be faced with spending more than you normally do.
Definitely. And that puts it into the Ministry of Social Development. So our
Hmm.
welfare system, it puts pressure on them because people that can afford it have gone out and stripped the shelves of the stuff that would normally other people that were on the lower end of the socioeconomic scale would have purchased. So it's like, oh, really?
Well, listen, I will start wrapping things up here with you. We still have some other things to go on the show, and you're more than welcome to dial us up on Facebook and listen to the rest of the show. But I'll let you go because I understand you've got kiddos at home, and yeah, some of the pictures you sent were remarkable. Some of the activities you're doing, and of course, I'll keep discretion in a better part here, and not put anything that will jeopardize safety. But you don't mind me sharing some of the activity things that you're doing?
The arts and craft, that's not a
Right.
problem at all.
Okay,
Um,
great. I'll do that then. And
I
if you
took
don't
my,
mind.
it's about the small things, and that's where you've got to look at your mental state of mind. I took my daughter out today, and she has been begging me for the last 3 weeks to take her bike out, and I don't like doing it because she's not quite that confident, and I wasn't wrong. She crashed into a fence and a letterbox, but we carried on. We took photos of wild mushrooms growing, and she was quite amused with them.
Hmm.
And it's an hour-long walk that we go on, and that for me is no easy feat because physically I'm awaiting surgery, so
Oh,
it's just not easy.
yeah, I understand. So, and you are allowed to go out on recreational activities as long as you keep your social distancing.
So when I describe our recreational activities, you are allowed to walk around your neighborhood. You're allowed to bike around your neighborhood, use your manual scooter. It's nothing that involves putting a motor in there. You're not
Right.
allowed to drive around.
Ah,
If it's not for essential, you are to walk, push bike, or manual scooter. So that's all we've been doing. And I change our walking pattern and go in different directions, but it's generally no more than 4Ks from home, four
yeah.
kilometers. I'm not
And
sure what you guys
I,
call it over there.
I use miles, and but so you if you also have a pet like a dog, you are allowed to take that out, the dog out for a walk.
Dogs must be on the lead. They're not allowed to be off leash.
Hmm.
There's certain areas where animals are not allowed to go. I believe that the dog parks are closed to stop the social interaction. They're not allowed on the beach. It's basically anywhere, an area where mass gatherings of people walking their animals, where there is a risk of too many people being in at the same place at the same time, or dogs fighting, etc. They're trying to look at the aspect of if that dog gets in a fight, or if you have to intervene, or if you go out on your motorbike and you crash, how many other people are they going to have to pull in to help you?
Hmm.
How many other people would be unnecessarily exposed to something that they shouldn't be because you made the choice to go out and do that? So they want people basically at the moment, don't be an egg, just stick to your bubble, your social bubble, and look after yourselves. It's all common sense, really, and I don't understand why people can't can't get that through. It's common sense. Stay in
Right.
your bubble. Don't go stir crazy. Do things to get out, get in the fresh air, go for a walk.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Boy, well, listen, Robyn, I can't tell you how much we appreciate this, and we'll let you get back to doing whatever you're doing with your. You've got kids, so I'll let you go back to doing that. And I tell you, our heart goes out to you. We appreciate you doing this, and please stay safe and keep in contact. We'll have to have you on again sometime.
Definitely.
Oh, it's enjoyable, and thank you for listening to our show. That just that warms our heart to let us know that we're an international show, so to speak. So, um, well, listen, Robyn, have a great day, an enjoyable day, and bless you, and stay safe out there. And for the rest of our listeners, we're going to stay on because we've got some other things to cover. Robyn, good day to you, and goodbye for now.
and say bye to your beautiful wife for me.
Oh yeah. By the way, I forgot to bring that up. In case we're talking again and she comes in, you're to say you're Jake from Allstate, and if she asks you what you're wearing, just say khakis.
I could be really funny and say nothing.
We have got a commercial here in the States from Allstate where this wife wakes up and finds the husband on the phone and he's talking to his Allstate agent. You'll have to dial it up on YouTube. You'll understand what I'm saying. Our listeners probably know, but yeah, next time we're talking, just say you're Jake from Allstate, and she'll totally get it. So, listen, goodbye to you for now, and have a safe and wonderful day.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Robyn. Well, that was Robyn from New Zealand. Oh gosh, we really appreciate her coming on and sharing what's going on over there. And boy, it's always good to and that's something that Kelly has traveled extensively. She's been to 49 different countries and been to every state except Alaska. And but it's always good to find out what's going on over in the different countries and get what's going on, and makes you kind of appreciate what we're going through here. But it sounds like they've got much of a tighter lockdown than us, and the result is they're experiencing much less spread of the COVID-19 virus. Now, New Zealand, I will tell you, is sparsely populated. I mean, it's a lot of rural area, but they do have urban areas as well. So again, it's a little under 6 million people in New Zealand, and they've only experienced 2 deaths so far. So you got to compare that to Indiana, which is roughly about the same. We're about 6 million in Indiana, and look what's happening in Indiana. So I'm going to show you guys Indiana here, just to give you guys an idea. Yeah, we've had 245 deaths. Absolutely shocking. And it sounds like to me that they're experiencing some of these social economic problems that we are with this our stay at home. It does sound like they're a little bit more conservative and very aggressive when they say stay at home. They mean it. Now, I've just talked to a couple of weeks ago Gary Gurman, the Porter County prosecutor, and they are getting to the same level in Porter County, and you're seeing it here in Lake County as well, and up in Wisconsin and Illinois. We're seeing the municipalities getting more aggressive with people that violate the stay-at-home order. First it's a warning, definitely, and you talk to everyone. They don't want to arrest people. They definitely, because it causes a different problem. But I guess I don't want to turn this into a lecture because I try not to do that. But we all need to understand we need to contain this thing. It's just not for our own safety; it's for the safety of others, and we just have to understand that. And it sounds like New Zealand has clearly got a control over this situation, but they still have the same problems we do. You heard that they do have a bit of a hoarding in different products than we do. They do have toilet paper over there. I don't get that one. Uh, so let's move on, shall we? Robyn, if you're listening out there, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you dialing in through Zoom, and please be safe wherever you are and whatever you do. So I'd like to talk to you a bit about some of the other things going on. Uh, okay, let me go to. Bear with me here. I'm still getting used to doing this live stuff. Wonderful show we just had with Jude House. We had the executive director, Ryan Ilankowski, and Buffy Adams. The Ryan is the executive director, which is kind of interesting to talk to him because I guess he's been involved with St. Jude House as far as a volunteer or now working for them as their executive director since elementary school. Very interesting, and I had a very good conversation with both Buffy and Ryan about what's going on and how this COVID-19 has affected them, the stay at home, and really it's a kind of clamped them down because they have to be really restrictive about who they can let in. But they have, if you are experiencing domestic violence or sexual aggression, and they fear for your safety, they will find a spot for you. Very good conversation, and we're going to keep involved with those people because, as you know, this is one of the items that we take personally. This is any domestic violence or rape is something that's affected Kelly directly, and so I guarantee you. Now, one thing that we got, yeah, guys, if I happen to do the morning show, and you guys may be the first ones to see this, because knowing Kelly, she may do it while I'm sleeping. They are doing a couple of neat things at St. Jude. And again, they are affected just like every other non-for-profit or organization. Basically what happened is their ability to get income was removed. Their ability to do fundraisers was removed. Their big fundraiser that they were just about to do, they had to cancel. So what they're doing, and we're going to put some information up on our Facebook page, they have this thing happening on April 24th where they're going to have like what we've been doing, but much more, just not music. They're going to have magic and comedians come on and do a live stream on April 24th. And Kelly and I, we may do something with them on that. We're not sure yet. Depends how entertaining we can be. We may have to pull out some of our personalities, as I always tell you, are extremely unmedicated personalities, of which she's got 10. I think I've got 1,000. Anyway, so one thing that they are doing, which we have been officially challenged, if you listened to the show yesterday, you know what happened. And and you guys may get first glance at what happens on this one, because I'll be up right away, and Kelly will probably have done this at night while I'm sleeping. They have a makeup challenge, which means that we're going to Kelly and I have to decide on a date. We're going to put something up on our Facebook page asking for donations. After we receive a certain amount of donations, guess what? We're talking Hangover, the movie, all over again. Remember how the guy woke up and they wrote all over his face? Well, I think something like that's going to happen here, all right? Kelly will take great liberty and great enjoyment at writing things on my face or doing makeup on me. So we're going to take that. So please look for it out there. I know this is going to go so bad for me. Yeah, knowing Kelly, yeah, I'm going to look like the guy on Hangover, if you guys remember that movie and what happened to the guy who woke up with various different things on his face. That's going to happen. I know it. I know it. And it's probably going to happen at night. You guys are tune into our early morning show. Are going to be the first ones to see it, even before I see my own face. So this ought to get pretty interesting. So look for that. We just have to decide when we're going to start this, but we want to do it. If you guys know what St. Jude does, you know why we're so emotional about it. They are a shelter for people going through domestic violence or sexual aggression. And this month is Sexual Aggression Month. It's highlighting organizations and just so you're going to hear a lot about that in our show. But so pay attention for this. We're going to love doing that for them. Great work that they do there. Some people, St. Jude, we've always wanted to have on, but we just didn't know who to contact. But we're glad we did now. We had them on the show, and I think we've made some great friends over there, especially after they see my face after it's done. Yeah, great friends. One thing that was awesomeness, Dan Rising came on last night and did a concert. He's an amazing musician. I first ran into him when he was a worship leader at a church I used to go to, and he picked Hannah's Hope for his non-for-profit that he wanted to support during his concert. And I got to tell you, so far, it ended up being our number one collector. Dan put an amazing concert on last night. He always does an amazing job. And so I believe the last time I checked, it was like at 315 or so, 319. Excuse me, I don't have any of it up in front of me, but they collected the largest amount so far. The second one was the concert that we did for Habitat for Humanity, and I believe that brought in $190. I wish, yeah, it doesn't sound like much, but believe me, those people so much appreciated this. And so right now, Dan is putting the throw down. He's saying, yeah, we're number one right now. Let's do this thing. All right, so the next one that's coming up, next concert that's coming up is John Slingerland, and he will be on tonight at 7 p.m., going till 7:30. And so look for the post and look for the charity that will be that. I believe that is going to be Planting Possibility. I believe it's Planting Possibilities. I apologize for not knowing. But look for that tonight and get ready to be entertained. And if you can, make a donation for one of the charities. There will be a donate button available on our Facebook page. This is what's so great about doing this. People are getting entertained, and some money is getting its way towards a charity, a non-for-profit organization, what have you. So John is on tonight. Coming up tomorrow night, Saturday night, Sammy. Sammy live from Miami, and he is going to be doing this from Miami. He's more of a folk singer, yeah, he is going to come on and entertain us for about a half hour between 8 and 8:30. So that's tomorrow, Saturday. We have already started a lineup for next week. So as soon as I get those confirmed and know what charities that they're going to be representing, we'll put that out there for you so you guys can plan your time and schedule accordingly. Ah, boy, what a week. And yeah. And please look for our neighbor show that's happening every day, pretty much every day, although some days. And I'll let you know, it may be one person, it may be two people, but we are going to try to do those more often. And also look out for reports from our two reporters, and that may be expanding. We may have a lot more than two, but we have two reporters, one that's going to be representing the Chicagoland area, and the other is going to be reporting from Northwest Indiana, and this may expand. But we're going to be meeting with them and talk about the stories that they're going to be talking about. And all this is about good stuff. All this is about organizations, neat things that they're seeing happening in their community, whether it be a sign, whether it be someone coming out and doing something unique for someone in need. And boy, I tell you, our reporters know all about doing things for people in need, because that's what they do. That's how we found out about them. And so, so we like to thank Ryan and Addison for joining our reporting team. And I'm telling you, I think you will be impressed, highly impressed. In fact, I can't talk about it now, but we've got a special assignment for Ryan. And I know Ryan is the only person that can do this, actually. In fact, I'm not going to say anymore. I know it's going to happen because I know Ryan, and I know the person I want him to interview, and it is going to be great. Ryan, if you hear this, don't worry. Don't worry. You're going to be good. You're going to be great. But we'll meet about it next time we do a Zoom reporters meeting. You hear that, Michael Puente? We have reporters now. Mm-hmm. WBEZ, look out. No, totally not. I'm just kidding. You know I'm kidding, Michael. Although one of these days, Michael Puentes is going to be our news director. Yeah, that's our dream. Michael Puente from NPR WEZ affiliate is going to be our news director. Outside that, let's see. Do I have any messages from anyone else? No. Like any other country or anyone else in the United States? Anyone else listening out there want to say good morning? Or I know some people are listening. I see you out there. Don't want to talk? Well, listen, I hope you found the talk with Robyn from New Zealand very interesting. It's always good to bring someone in from a different country, different culture, to find out how things are being handled there. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because look at their statistics. And I've got to say, okay, you can't compare them to the United States, but when you look at one of our states, Indiana, which they are very close to, oh my gosh, completely different. But you look at what they did compared to what we did, and Not that I've got to say, I'm not trying to criticize. Yeah, I think it's more of a statement of our culture and a statement of who we are as a people, not criticizing our governor. Because quite frankly, Governor Holcomb, I think, has handled this very well. I think he's done a very good job. I really do have to hand it to him, and sometimes I'm very sympathetic because when he issues an executive order and has to fine tune it, is that because he didn't do a good job the first time, or it's because people really are trying to challenge him? And this is why I want to talk about, and it's, please don't look at this as a lecture, but I witnessed some things, and I went up and we went through that executive order together not too long ago. In fact, it's one of our first shows, and went through what's considered essential, both activity wise and whether you were essential or not. Now, I've got to say this, and I've warned people. In fact, you could kind of jest that this is not a real background, although it's real, but it's green screen type stuff through Zoom. It's one of those backgrounds. When I found out you could do that, I said, man, I've got to put pictures up from our studio because we love our studio. We miss our studio. But guess what? We are at home. In fact, for those of you who don't believe that, I will switch back. See? I'm at home. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of depressing, is it? But I've got Batman and I've got Wrigley Field. And I've got a roll of toilet paper over there. Yeah. At home. I'm at home. And the reason why we're doing that, and we are considered essential, we can easily pull out a press card and say we are essential. But no, we don't want to do that because we don't classify ourselves as essential. Essential is Mike Puente asking the real questions to a doctor about COVID testing, going out and asking a politician. He is essential. Us, okay, maybe Kelly is essential, but not so much Bill, especially after he gets his face painted. Yeah, so we decided to move our studio back here to home, to not only to be safe, but to also set an example for you people that are out there pushing the barrier. Yes, we have gone out to get food. Yes, we've supported restaurants out there that are providing carryout, but we are totally doing it safe. We are wearing now Bill and Kelly show face masks. You can't get those yet, by the way, but we have them. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to sell them either. But what I'm trying to say is this is a very grievous process that we're going through. It's going to change life as we know it. It's a given. Both economically, both socially, we're going to be different for a while. You could look at that any way you can. I always try to think ahead. What is life going to look like? Regardless. In my own life, I always did that. What is it going to look like? I tried not to concentrate on that. Try not to concentrate on what happened because that's nothing good can happen to that. But we all need to do that, I feel. We need to understand people are dying. We all need to stand. It's just not us that we are concerned about anymore. It is what happens when we step out of our house and knowing that we could be carriers and we may be feeling perfectly fine. But when we go to stop in to get something, do we have a mask on? Do we absolutely need to be there? Because physical interaction in one shape or form. If you own a business, is it considered essential? Really look at that hard. And, you've got to ask yourself, it's because the point is, yes, we're all going through financial difficulties. And I want to tell you again, what we're trying to set an example is not just to us, and I'm hoping some other media outlets get into that. Income has drastically stopped. We just visited with the Byway Brewery and asked them how things were going, with it, because they're minimum staff, carry out only, and this is what their business model was meant to be. They having people in doing events. It's just completely different for them. So let's look at Byway Brewery as an example. I hope they don't mind me saying this, but no, I don't think they do, is they are down from last year. I believe it was 95% of sales. 95%. That's devastating. Um, I yeah, and that's something they provide food, great food. A lot of people that have businesses in where we were at go there for takeout, or go there to have a beer or hamburger or something. Um, but that's not what their business model is. Business model is relying on people coming in, sitting, staying a while, drinking beer, and entertaining themselves. Well, now it's got to be takeout, and now a lot of that's being reduced because even people are concerned about takeout, and now they're just buying gift cards, and which are, and I keep saying this, buy a gift card, and that'd be a great thing for the people. But I just want to ask you, particularly business owners out there, it's tough. It's tough on us. We paused all of our sponsorships so that our sponsors don't have to be concerned about paying us. They just pay their expenses because we know expenses continue to rack up at the Bill and Kelly Show, but we're taking it on the chin. Expenses out there for businesses are continuing to happen. So what we did is paused. We told our sponsors, don't worry about us. One of them said we're sending in a check, and I told them we're going to tear that check up. So there you go. I hope more people take that example. We're all going through this. We need to do it together. Together we will get through this. That's the message I want to leave with you, is together we will fight this. Together we will get through it. But we all have to practice common sense. When we go out, make sure it is for an essential reason. Just think about, what is this something that absolutely is going to need to sustain me? In New Zealand, that's what they're doing. I mean, right now, their their stores and their pharmacies are the only thing that's open. All the restaurants, everything else is closed. So really, you can't. In fact, another thing that's different with us, we can still go out on a drive. I think we're still allowed to do that, but it better be to go to a gas station unless you're, from what I understand from the police, they're not going to bother you if you're just driving around a leisure drive. But I'm guarantee you, if you go out to some place and get a beer or two and you don't pass the breathalyzer, what you're going to look at is not only a DUI, but you're also going to look at as a violation of the stay-at-home order. That's a given. I guarantee you that's probably going to happen. If you're just stop on a casual drive, they'll give you a warning saying, are you going to the grocery store? Are you going here? And they'll probably just warn you until you get home. Well, New Zealand, they took care of that. Guess what? Nothing is open for them to go to. And guess the other thing that's different from us is they can't take their vehicles out unless it's for an essential activity. And that's got to be going to the grocery store or getting meds. So think about that. Okay, folks, that's it. Oh, man, we gone an hour. Holy moly. Well, we've had a guest. Jake from Allstate. Yeah. Now, Robyn, if you're listening out there, thank you so much. And later on today, I'm going to look at some of the pictures she sent us, which are phenomenal pictures. And, some of the things that they do as far as activities at home and beautiful artwork, by the way. I don't know if that was your kids or the egg, the Easter egg. That was beautiful. So I'm going to share some of that. Outside that, please, one thing, if you want to partake in the Neighbors show, we've got some people coming up next week. Please let me know. I mean, the whole idea is to share what's going on in our communities, what's going on with the organizations that we work for, what's going on out there, and then just share that. So we thought it was a novel idea, but that's it. And look for concerts next week. They're continuing to roll. Our goal is to keep doing this. I mean, we've got some great people, and they're willing to come on and do this. It supports charities. Why not? I mean, it's great entertainment. And the people we've got on they're not just garage bands. These are people that earn a living at being musicians, or if not earning a living yet, or could easily be earning a living being a musician. So with that, we will let you go. We're going to tune down the show for right now. Please be safe out there, and we can't wait to see you. We can't wait for this all to be over, where we can go out and interact and enjoy each other. With that, we'll say goodbye for now, and enjoy this beautiful day.
This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by Sip Coffee House 2 in Highland, Indiana on Jude Avenue. Great coffee, lattes, smoothies, and more. Food and treats you will adore. Small town charm with big city selection. It's Sip Coffee House 2. If it's breakfast, brunch, or lunch you need, Les Cafe is the place to go, indeed. Open 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. 7 days a week. Les Cafe Pancake House, located in Highland, Indiana on Highway Avenue. Les Cafe, where less is more. Promise You Art House, a fun and vibrant place for local artisans to display and sell their creative works, owned and operated by artists for artists. Conveniently located at 8830 Kennedy Avenue in Highland, Indiana. For hours and events, visit pyarthouse.com or follow them on Facebook. Promise You Art House, where creativity reigns.